Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Lush Gardener. As we all know, summers are here and most of my succulents require a little bit more frequent watering as compared to the other two seasons. So I came up with a plan. I have a huge pot over here that usually tends to house a lot of my foliage plants, and I tend to water it quite often. Now usually the excess water tends to drain out. It tends to dirty the floor, so I started using a tray beneath. Now I thought what's best than to keep my succulents in this, because the excess water is any which way is going to drain out. So rather than wasting this water and rather than dirtying the floor, I can use this tray and keep my succulents in this for bottom watering. And as the excess water starts to trickle down, it gets collected in this tray. Now over here I have my haworthia pollox that I had leaf propagated some time back. You can see they are doing extremely well. Out of this, two of them are of a good size, but still I'm not going to separate them. As you can see, the mother leaf is still very fresh and attached to them, so I won't be taking them out. So this is how I tend to bottom water this. So with this, I'm able to do two things at the same time. My foliage plant also tends to get watered. At the same time, I can keep my leaf propagation for bottom watering. So with this, as soon as the tray starts to get filled up with water, the leaf propagation will start to soak up water through the bottom watering. What I'm going to do is I will quickly do a time lapse so that it can be much easier for you to notice, because otherwise it's going to take a little bit of time. You can see right now the soil is completely bone dry and I just leave it in this. So this is very convenient for me. My foliage plant gets watered. At the same time, I don't dirty the floor, and the excess water is used for watering my leaf propagation. You can see the leaf propagation has been completely watered. The soil is completely dark in color on the upper surface, which means that we are done with the watering. At the same time, I have another set of leaf propagation. These are slightly stretched because of lack of light, but you can see the soil is completely dry. So I'll go ahead and add this one as well into the tray. Now, the bigger the tray, you can accommodate more plants or more pots that you want to water them. This works out really well. Now, ideally, I would suggest if you are from a very dry environment, do not do bottom watering, go for a top watering. But for me, there are so many plants, it's very difficult for me to attend all the plants in one go. So this tends to work out really well for me. While these are getting bottom watered, I can go ahead and do watering for my other plants or for my other succulents, or I can do some maintenance of my other plants. In this way, because this tray is very small, I can still accommodate around 4 to 5 pots. As you can see, I have just added another Lola. And here I have my red hole, which also needed some watering. So I go ahead and put as much succulents as I can that can fit in this tray. I have another larger tray, but that's occupied right now with some soil mix. But even this tray is doing its trick. It's giving me a majority of the pots in this container. It is able to accommodate at least 4 pots. I can add another one, but I'm just going to leave it with 4. And while these are getting bottom watered, I can just go in and attend my other plants, then come back again once I notice that the soil, the upper layer of soil is completely dark in color. That indicates that it has been completely bottom watered, and then I can take them out. So this is working out really well for me. It saves a lot of my time. And these are my Haworthia Florence Laui. You can see they are also doing quite well. Now it's summers, it's little warm, so the Haworthia leaf propagation tends to grow a little bit faster as compared to what it was during the winters. If you remember, I had done the leaf propagation during the winters and I was regretting it that time, because they shouldn't be done during the winters, because that's when the propagation is really slow. But right now during the warmer months, I feel that they are growing a little bit more faster. The mother leaves are still present on them, so I'm not going to pull them out. I'm going to leave them as it is. But as you can see, the remaining pots that are present in the tray, the soil is starting to turn darker in color, which means that I am done with the bottom watering. Now all I have to do is just take them out, and I will not be bottom watering this one, because you can see the soil is quite dark in color, which means that it still has some moisture, so I'm not going to be watering them. I will wait for some more time. It's very important that you do not pull out the mother leaf when they are still very fresh, because the pup is still taking nutrients and water from the mother leaf. So be extremely careful not to pull them out. And you can see even my Haworthia pollox as well, the mother leaves are very fresh because I do not drop any water on them. I do not mist my leaf propagations. I try to keep them as dry as possible. So you can see the water has started to drain out, and I still have water trickling out from the foliage pot, so which means that I can still continue with some more of bottom watering. I can still go ahead and add some more pots in this, so that I can again go back and attend my other plants. Right now my foliage plants are struggling a little bit because of the low humidity, so I'm spending more time with my foliage plants than my succulents. But at the same time, my succulents also need a little bit of watering. You can see I have added another pot. This leaf propagation is completely done. You can see the upper layer of soil is completely wet and there is excess water draining out. So I can take this out, and meanwhile I can go ahead and add some more pots in this. Because the black pot, the foliage plot, which is trickling the water out, it tends to store a lot of water, and that water slowly starts to come out. So it takes quite some time for that each drop to fall, and which gets collected in the tray. So that is an advantage for me, because the much slower it is, the much better it is. I can keep adding more and more plants in it. I have added another pot of my Echeveria Onslow. You can see it's slightly dehydrated, so I'll be adding it as well for my bottom watering. I have another Echeveria Zargoza which I will fit in, and in this way I am able to water my succulents. I'm able to water my foliage plants without putting in much efforts. I'm able to work much efficiently by doing this process. If you have an option like this, you can definitely try this. With this, a lot of your pots tend to get watered at the same time, and at the same time you can go ahead and attend your other plants. And you can see my red hole as well. You can see the upper layer of soil is completely dark in color, which means that this one has also got a good amount of bottom watering. But remember guys, as I said, if you are from a very dry environment, avoid doing bottom watering. Because I have so many succulents, it becomes really difficult for me to handle and water all of them. So I go for this option of bottom watering. But if you are from a very dry environment, if you have very less succulents, you can always go for top watering during the summers. Bottom watering can be done during winters or during the monsoon season, because at that period of time, the soil takes a little bit more longer for it to dry. During summers, the soil tends to dry much faster. Now, in case if the water has stopped from the black pot trickling down, I go ahead and add a little bit more water, and then again I go back and continue with my other work. This roughly takes around let's say 15 to 20 minutes for each pot to get completely wet. So it's a very long process, so I don't have to be worried. So that's all about it. I think this worked out really well for me, especially during summers. During monsoons and winters, I don't need to do all of this stuff. It takes a longer time for the soil to dry, but only summers I have to be extremely careful, because things get dehydrated at a much faster rate. So guys, be extremely careful. Check how your environment is. If it's very dry, if it's very humid, you have to change your watering according to that. I cannot say that it's going to remain the same for everyone. So you have to check according to your environment. But the thumb rule remains the same. Ensure that your soil mix is completely bone dry. Only then go ahead and water your soil. So guys, that's all about it. I hope that this video was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. And if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, and keep propagating.